Welcome to Thunder Bay News Year in Review. I'm Katelyn Carr. Between elections, forest fires, and the Ring of Fire, 2011 was a heated year in northwestern Ontario. We're going to take a look back at some of the stories that made headlines in our region. We start here at the Fort William First Nation with the largest land claim settlement the band's ever seen. The $154 million deal involved about 70,000 acres of land, including Mission and McKellar Islands. The vast majority of residents voted in favor of accepting the federal and provincial government's settlement, and Chief Peter Collins said he wasn't surprised by the vote. A $149 million payment came from the federal government, the remaining $5 million from the province. A judge denied the City of Thunder Bay's motion to have the Horizon Wind lawsuit move into arbitration. Horizon filed a $126 million statement of claim against the city after council only approved 14 of the company's 18 planned turbine locations. A 30-year-old Thunder Bay man who pled guilty to manslaughter and indignity to human remains was sentenced to 10 years behind bars. Christopher Gregorchuk was originally charged with second-degree murder in connection with the death of 36-year-old Richard Ouimet back in 2009. Ouimet was beaten to death, and burnt remains of his body were found in the forest near Gull Bay. His lawyer, George Joseph, calls the sentence fair.
Well, this was a joint submission. In other words, this is a negotiation that was achieved in the presence of the judge, where the Crown and I agreed that this would be an appropriate range given the circumstances of the offense and the circumstances of Mr. Gregorchuk.
The case against Eric Lindstrom, who's also accused in the murder, has not yet gone to trial. 15-year-old Jordan Wabas disappeared in February. The Wabakwe First Nation youth came to the city to attend high school and was last seen getting off a bus. Thunder Bay Police Inspector Andy Hay said search crews found suspicious footprints near open water east of the James Street Bridge.
This focus came from evidences that was observed by volunteer searchers in the area. The volunteer search party noticed evidence that would indicate that somebody may have wandered out onto the ice towards the open water. So that's where investigation is focused right now.
There was no sign of Jordan Wabas, but police, the community, and his family continued to search over the next several months. Well, as you can see, things are really starting to take shape here at Thunder Bay's new consolidated courthouse. An official groundbreaking ceremony was held in February. The $250 million building will feature 15 courtrooms as well as 4 conference suites, including Ontario's first Aboriginal conference settlement suite.
A lot of jurisdictions have a need, and some is just as much as the need in Thunder Bay. You have some pretty determined advocates here, Bill Morrow and Mike Gravel, and it was clear they were working very well with the city, with the council, and with the justice participants here. Construction of the new courthouse is expected to be complete by fall of 2013. Thunder Bay City Council increased the budget for the Prince Arthur's Landing project by 17%. And while development on the city's waterfront continued, officials remained tight-lipped about the name of the hotel operator. However, TBT News exclusively found a page on the Brooke McElroy Urban Design and Planning website, which has since been removed, that shows the company was retained by Delta Hotels and Resolve Group to begin the design and construction process for the 8th-floor, 102-room hotel. City officials would not confirm our findings, and the name of the hotelier has yet to be officially revealed. In March, Mayor Keith Hobbs revealed that he was under investigation by the Ontario Civilian Police Commission for an alleged breach of confidentiality.
In the allegations, the chief states that in mid-November, he got a complaint that I was meeting with suspended police officers. That was prior to me being sworn in as mayor or being sworn in as the Police Services Board. As a result of that, he accessed private communications of mine.
Hobbs' press conference on the matter rekindled his feud with then Police Chief Bob Herman. Herman then filed a libel notice against the mayor and several media outlets in the city, including TBT News. 4 men were charged in connection with the city's first murder of the year. 54-year-old Robert Topping died after he was assaulted during an alleged break-and-enter at a Minnesota Street residence. One of the suspects in Topping's murder, 18-year-old Cody Thompson, died before the trial began. The 3 other men, all charged with second-degree murder, will have a preliminary hearing in January. Thunder Bay's Bombardier plant received a big contract in March. The provincial government ordered 50 new bi-level coaches for GO Transit at a cost of $125 million. Bombardier Vice President David Dubinsky said it showed the confidence that other companies have in the Thunder Bay plant.
It's a great news in terms of renewed confidence from our customer. It produces continuity on our operation line, production continuity, so which is very important also. So great news.
Jimmy the dog, accused of killing another dog at an off-leash city park, sparked a frenzy of controversy. The issue led to a protest on the steps of City Hall calling for the charges against the dog's owner to be dropped. In the end, the court ordered Jimmy to remain leashed and muzzled at all times, but he was not put down. Thunder Bay got a major hailstorm in April. The hail in some parts of the city was nearly the size of ping pong balls, with wind gusts up to 70 kilometers per hour. The storm was confined to a small area on the north side of the city, but the ice pellets left many vehicles with dents.
All of a sudden it sounded like a baseball hit my car, and in like half a second it just started hailing like huge ice chunks. And I was actually almost home, so my brother had to come get me because I was too scared to get out of my car. And I've actually never seen anything like it before.
The cost of the damage from the storm is estimated to be in the millions. A $126 million lawsuit filed against the city of Thunder Bay was finally dropped. City Council compromised with Horizon Wind on land and turbine locations for its proposed wind farm. Mayor Keith Hobbs called the settlement a defining moment in the city's history.
This isn't about politics, this is about the city of Thunder Bay, and when somebody said, I can't put the citizens at risk, I can't put citizens in Nebing at risk. I can't put their homes at risk, I can't put their health at risk.
We'll take a look back at the federal election and the impact it had on our region as Year in Review continues next. All 3 federal party leaders made stops in Thunder Bay during the election campaign, which saw Stephen Harper win his majority. The orange wave continued in our region. Thunder Bay Superior North MP Bruce Heyer reclaimed his seat by a wide margin, capturing almost 50% of the vote. MP John Rafferty also won re-election in Thunder Bay Rainy River in a landslide. The body of 15-year-old Jordan Wabas was pulled from the Cam River in May. Volunteer search coordinator Lillian Suganaqueb said it had been a difficult 3 months for the family and friends of the Webequie First Nation youth. And even though there isn't a happy ending in this case, it provided the closure everyone has been looking for.
Sort of a relief that the search is over. Yeah, 92 days we've searched. We worked alongside with the grandmother. Like there was a few volunteers that were there every single day with the grandmother. She wouldn't give up the search of her grandson.
A post-mortem examination was conducted and Thunder Bay police say foul play is not suspected. Thunder Bay City Council is starting to explore funding options and locations for the proposed event center. City Manager Tim Camiso presented 5 potential locations with various site options.
This is not just about a hockey rink. This is about providing a facility that's going to draw new events. It's going to, in itself, be an economic development catalyst. So when it comes to picking a site, that has to be taken in mind.
The city held public consultations on the matter, but a location has still not been selected. Northwestern Ontario saw a record-breaking year for forest fires. The Ministry of Natural Resources confirmed 908 forest fires in the Northwest region, which works out to be about 68% of the total fires in the entire province. In June, a forest fire burning just 18 kilometers outside of the Mishkagoguming First Nation caused residents to evacuate the area. They were the first of many Northwestern Ontario communities that were forced to leave because of the forest fire situation. June also brought a labor dispute in the Ring of Fire mining development. Over 24 employees of Cliffs Natural Resources walked off the job over wages and unsafe working conditions.
4 of the workers gathered at the Matawa office in Thunder Bay to share their stories and represent the rest of the workers who left the camp. Jesse Naden says the employees walked off the job amid claims of safety concerns, deteriorating work conditions, and low pay. Naden says the wage package offered to them meant they would make $140 per day as take-home pay for up to 14 hours work. He says all they're asking for is to be treated fairly. Naden says they're prepared to take further action if they do not hear from Cliffs.
Thunder Bay police were stumped after this landmark tree at Boulevard Lake was mysteriously chopped down in the middle of the night. The 100-year-old white pine was in an area known as Dead Man's Curve and had been struck a number of times in motor vehicle accidents. Anonymous tips from the public led police to 25-year-old Robert Harris, who was arrested and charged. Harris pleaded guilty and apologized for his senseless act. The court ordered him to pay the full restitution fee of just under $15,000. Raging forest fires continued to plague the northwest region, causing more people to be evacuated, and Thunder Bay became a transportation hub.
280 Sandy Lake residents have arrived so far in Thunder Bay, and that number is only expected to grow. Lindsay Meekus is one of the evacuees. She says she worries about leaving her home, but she's thankful for all of the help and support from the community during this difficult time.
I'm happy that all the younger kids are being taken out and everybody's safe over here in Thunder Bay. The hospitality is great here. From what I'm hearing, it's really bad up north. There's a lot of smoke.
A severe thunderstorm wreaked havoc in the city, causing a section of roof from the Thunder Bay International Airport to fly off. Luckily, no one was injured, but 18 vehicles were hit, some from a fallen light post, others from the debris. Now, surprisingly, this only caused minor delays at the airport. The libel and slander lawsuit filed against Thunder Bay Mayor Keith Hobbs by former police chief Bob Herman was dropped in July. Hobbs made a formal public apology.
And sincerely regret any hardship my comments have caused Chief Herman and his family.
A Thunder Bay family was left reeling after the tragic death of a 2-year-old girl.
Police have now identified the girl as 2-year-old Kylie McKay. She died on Tuesday afternoon after being run over by a vehicle. The incident occurred just before 4 o'clock on Vickers Street near Finlayson Street. Police say a male relative was dropping the girl off at her home, and she was hit as he pulled away from the residence in an SUV. Several police cruisers and officers rushed to the scene and blocked off Vickers Street from Dease to Finlayson Street. Police spokesperson Chris Adams says the accident initially appeared to be a hit and run, but that may not be the case.
The driver, we believe at this stage, may not have been aware that he had actually run over the child and drove off back to his own residence.
In August, the role of First Nations on juries was brought into the spotlight again. The province tapped former Supreme Court Judge Frank Yakabuchi to review the process of including on-reserve individuals on the jury roll. Nan Deputy Grand Chief Terry Wabu said they'd been fighting for years to uncover the truth.
Over the next year, they will look at that issue. We will visit First Nation communities in Nan and ask for input, and at the same time, hopefully develop the jury pool, the lists from First Nations. And
the 1-year-long review is delaying the inquest into the death of First Nations youth Reggie Bushy. More than 700 workers of Thunder Bay's Bombardier plant hit the picket lines in August. Workers walked off the job after failing to come to an agreement over wages and pension.
I'd like to see us come to an agreement on just something so we can at least get back to work and keep them negotiating or so we don't have any bad vibes or anything between the company and the union. That's my only thought, is just so that we can get back into work and to iron things out as we're working.
After a full day of negotiations, the two sides came to a tentative agreement, which the union accepted. In October, there was a tragic death at Kekabeka Falls Provincial Park. We'll have that story and more next. Two of the candidates hoping to be the next premier came to Thunder Bay in September for a Northern Leaders Debate. With the main focus of the Leaders Debate on the region, NDP leader Andrea Horvath and PC leader Tim Hudak took questions on forestry, mining, and their plans to stimulate the economy in northwestern Ontario.
We have to make sure that decisions are based on good science. Legislation like the Far North Act to protect the caribou, it's darn good for the caribou. Doesn't help families too much.
Making sure that we have the wood basket available, but also making sure we have electricity prices that make us competitive and ensure that when an operator does close down, communities have a say in how that wood is reallocated.
Premier Dalton McGuinty said he had a scheduling conflict and did not participate in the debate. In September, Anishinaabe Nation officials called on the provincial government to create a commission of inquiry into the deaths of 7 First Nation students in Thunder Bay.
The inquest system was never designed to look into the death of 7 youth. It was not designed to look into the death of 5 youth. It was designed for a verdict sheet in respect of one person, Reggie Bushy, though, to be fair, it was to look at context. But that doesn't allow for determinations on cause of death, and it doesn't allow for the advantages of a commission of inquiry, which is a detailed report on the circumstances of the death of each of these youth.
A string of Mac's convenience store robberies began in September. Thunder Bay Police began working with Mac's store officials in hopes of reducing the number of armed robberies. Detective Inspector Phil Levesque said they had a very productive meeting and they will continue to work as a unit in order to ensure the public's safety. October's provincial election saw the McGuinty majority Liberal government slim down to a minority. It was another tight race for our Liberal incumbent Bill Morrow, who regained his seat in the Thunder Bay Atikokan riding. It was a similar situation in Thunder Bay Superior North for Liberal Michael Gravel, who won his 5th term at Queen's Park. A 22-year-old man died after going over an embankment at Kekabeka Falls Provincial Park. OPP were called to the park about some unusual behavior by the man, Curtis McVitie. The officer approached the Huntsville native with the intention of detaining him under the Mental Health Act. Police say McVitie ran away and jumped over the railing at the lookout area of the falls, where he lost his footing and fell to his death. The province's Special Investigations Unit probed the incident, which cleared the OPP officer of any criminal offense in the case. A blaze closed down the Travelodge Hotel on Memorial Avenue in October. Firefighters were called to the hotel's Sushi Station restaurant to extinguish a fire in the kitchen. The entire hotel was evacuated. Thunder Bay's Director of Fire Prevention, Brian Behringer, says because of the amount of damage, a fire marshal's investigator had to be brought in.
The damage in the building is quite extensive. The kitchen area of the restaurant has been totally destroyed, and there's quite a bit of debris.
The hotel has since been partially reopened. The Global Sticks plant closed down in November, leaving about 80 employees without work and the rest of us with a lot of questions.
Global Sticks President Reggie Nukovic says the plant temporarily shut down to allow for restructuring and refinancing. He says shareholders are working on an action plan, but says Global Sticks needs more support from the provincial government, MNR, and the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund. Nukovic says the company needs a supply of 3 to 4 trucks of birch each day to make their popsicle sticks, and without that, there's no product.
Going back a number of months when we started, and I take full responsibility for that, maybe we should have paid a lot more attention to making sure that we had an ample wood supply.
Some shocking news came from the Thunder Bay and District Humane Society shelter. Its board of directors announced that the shelter would be closing by the end of the year due to their ongoing financial crisis. Executive Director Marianne Kleinendorf says they have a $15,000 a month cash shortage.
Humane societies it's always a struggle. Every charity is always a struggle. No charity wants to come to this point, and the people that are involved here, myself, the board members, the volunteers, they do this because it's a passion. So yeah, it's a blow.
The shelter is still in the red, but has since seen an outpouring of support from the community and will remain open for at least the next 3 months. Area MPs Bruce Har and John Rafferty were punished by their party for voting with the Conservatives to abolish the long gun registry. The NDP kicked both off of their committees and critic roles, told them that they're not allowed to ask questions or make statements in the House of Commons, and they've had their travel privileges revoked. Meanwhile, their Thunder Bay constituents say they did the right thing, and they're pleased to see their elected officials standing up for them in the House.
I'm really sad to see what's happened. These men stood up for the principles that they believe in, and they stood up for their constituents, and I'm really, really sorry to see their party line take such a hard stand against them.
A Northern Ontario reserve entered the spotlight after declaring a state of emergency over deplorable living conditions. Officials in Attawapiskat said the houses are dilapidated and several families are living in tents and shelters. Grand Chief of the Anishinaabe Nation, Stan Beardy, says the living conditions experienced in Attawapiskat are standard in many Nan communities.
The majority of First Nations in that territory are in what we call third world conditions.
It was a scary situation for passengers on a WestJet flight traveling from Vancouver to Toronto in December. It was forced to make an emergency landing here in Thunder Bay due to an unruly passenger smoking on board and allegedly uttering bomb threats. The Portuguese man is not facing any criminal charges. A bomb scare at Thunder Bay's Bombardier plant forced a major evacuation of the facility in December. Close to 1,000 workers were rushed outside into the bitter cold. Emergency officials quickly rounded up dozens of city buses to keep the workers warm while police searched the building. But the situation ended up causing transit delays all over town. No explosive devices were found on the premises. A 20-year-old man convicted of manslaughter and a high-profile stabbing death was sentenced in December. Patrick Canate was charged following an incident on High Street in September of last year. A drunken argument with his cousin, Keegan Williams, escalated into violence and left 25-year-old Williams dead in the street. Canate was sentenced to 7 years in prison. However, he will only serve just over 6 years. Defense lawyer Gil Labine believes the sentence was a fair one.
The sentence reflects all the principles of sentencing, especially Aboriginal kids that are charged with these types of offenses. And I think he went through the problems that these young people are facing and the background that they come from. And the sentence reflects those principles quite accurately and fairly.
That's the 2011 edition of Thunder Bay News Year in Review. For your news anytime, you can go online to tbnewswatch.com. Thank you for joining us.